So start recording.
This is Vidit here. I
Yeah.
just one question.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to know how important is SQL from the perspective of interview, and if it's like very important, then some good resources for like practicing SQL.
Yeah. See, if you see it, everything that is related data you are doing, SQL is very important, right? Whether you are writing a Sparx SQL, whether you are doing any logic. See, logics are coming from SQL. If you are doing a join, you need to know what is inner join, what is outer join, what is window function, all those stuff, right? If you do not have the understanding of SQL, because you will be dealing with files, tables, and everything, right? So your business analytics knowledge should be very, very strong. That's the kind of understanding. If you are building ETL, you are building logics. If your analytical ability is not there, you'll have issues, right? And typically analytical ability in the sense mostly we use SQL, right? Whether you are writing a ETL tool or PySpark doesn't matter. At the end, what are you doing in the PySpark also? You are doing a filter, you are doing join, you are doing group by, you are doing aggregate, right? Everything is SQL, right? If you don't have strong SQL knowledge, that concept will not come. Right? So many people do test SQL as well so that you are strong in SQL. So SQL is a very, in fact, SQL is. See, many times people think SQL is default. It's a default skill set. People don't even ask you if you have it or not. It's like assume. It's taken for granted that everybody knows SQL. Nobody even asks. So anything you do data engineering means data. Anything you have to deal with data means SQL is a must. And that too, that from that how strong you are, that's can be that's a good question. But um,
Close it
so,
up very well.
yeah. So in
Just
basic
close it.
understanding, some it could be average and you can deal with it, not a big deal. But if somebody is trying to doing an interview for you SQL thing, right, that you said, that's a different thing. uh, so they will try to find out how strong you are with the logics, complex logics, not just table and all that. um, you know Different SQL scenarios which we talked about, right? Join, inner join, outer join, group by, case statement, window functions, right? But right, so those kind of stuff would be good. Data modeling, concept of keys, concept of foreign key, primary key, right? Those all, if you don't have that understanding, think about how can you do data transformation, right? You will know, you'll be say here is the store table, here is the product table, sales table. If you don't have the concept of which columns I should join on, what is what is primary key, what is the granularity of the table, those concepts are, when we have worked on so many years, it comes natural to us. But somebody new, they have to develop it, right?
Yeah.
For us, we don't think it's so natural to us because I've been working on this field long time. We don't even think because it's so natural to us. Okay, we are joining this table. Okay, what's the key? We don't. But if we are starting with this, the modeling concepts, right, and all the SQL functions that you apply on those, right, whether all those, they should be developed. Okay. So if you are not good at it, I will advise take a small SQL training, not just SQL syntax, but even how to taking a business problem and how to solve it in SQL, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right. So also you asked about the Databricks today. In the one thing, Databricks is a cloud managed service or cloud. What do you call it's a what do you call it's a company that provides managed Spark. What is called cloud-based managed Spark service. It provides. Okay. So it provides a Spark service on the cloud, which is managed just like we have managed Hadoop service, which is AMR, managed what do you call serverless Spark, which is Glue, but this is a server-based Spark cloud-based managed service. Okay, that's provided by Databricks. So that if you have to do some data related work, I can go and pay, pay them, just like you do the AWS thing, you rent it out. So you can rent it out their servers and use it and do your work same way. Okay. All right. So, okay. Anything else? Any other questions? So you guys are studying the stuff which we left out yesterday, right? SCD and whatever the lists of things, right? You guys are covering that, right? For constructing SCD type 2, what other few stuffs are there, right? All those stuffs, data warehouse concepts, those are all the side things you need to be very good at. Because we don't know what the interviewer will ask. What the requirement in the job is, it could be different from one to one. But at least we know what is the sum total of those. That part we know, kind of. That means if you have to, if you just list it out, let me see just right. What are the things you need to be good at?
Yeah, anyone tell why do we need both or three packages?
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing. Boto 3. Do you know any of you what is Boto 3?
You need Boto3 for writing like trigger functions in Lambda. So it's basically a package in Python. So using that, you basically write all the trigger functions. Suppose you have to trigger like certain function when some data comes to your S3, then some other, suppose CloudWatch has to be activated.
Yeah.
Then you can do all this using Boto. Yeah.
So trigger is one, but there are so many things you can do. Trigger is just one thing. Right? You remember we give you example. I asked you to write a Boto 3 where you can take a S3 bucket and rename it. Writing a Boto 3 application. Do you remember? One of the
Yeah, we did one assignment on this.
Yeah. So Moto 3 is the Python package for sure. Why it is needed? It allows you to interact with various AWS services.
Yeah.
Okay.
It allows
That's the online answer.
Yeah, it allows to interact with exactly quite a few. I mean, most of the AWS services, so that you can do it programmatically. See, otherwise, what's your option? Otherwise, you go to console and build it. But can I do it? Well, yeah, you can write the programs in the console as well. But whether it's a Lambda function, whether it's a glue job, whether it's a standalone program, whatever it is, or you need something to interact with the services. So what is that? That's the Boto 3 package. Okay.
Yeah, this I just pasted in the chat window. Okay, that is the right definition.
Boto 3 is the Amazon Web Services SDK, software development Python. Enables Python developer to create, configure, manage AWS services such as EC2, S3. Boto provides an easy-to-use object-oriented API as well as low-level access to AWS services. For example, I want to
So
create
whatever you are doing in the console, you can do in two ways. From CLI also you can do, right? AWS S3 LS, AWS S3 copy. You can do it through CLI. When you write Python code, you don't understand CLI commands, right? What is CLI? You're passing some parameters and values to AWS utility. That's why you should do AWS S3 LS. AWS is your AWS utility, CLI, command line interface utility. The first argument is what kind of service you want to access. Second argument, what needs to be done with the service. So AWS S3 LS means you are invoking AWS CLI. You are giving instruction, hey, I want to access S3 service. In S3, I want to do list of S3 bucket. That's why you do AWS S3 LS. Correct? You write a Python code, it won't understand AWS CLI commands. So we use both 3 packages. For example, if you want to display date, you got date function, right? What is date function? It's again behind the screen is a Python packages only. Similarly, to access your AWS services, interact with various AWS services in your account, you use both 3 packages.
Okay. There are
Make
various
sense?
ways, right? So if you have to interact with the service, you can go to the console, do it. From CLI, you can do it. Then you have to write your independent applications. You can build your own applications which will interact. Give the secret key, access key, and do whatever you want. You want to create a S3 bucket, EC2, all that stuff, shape, everything you can produce. I mean, most of the stuff you can do programmatically, completely programmatically. Run it from a Lambda function, run it from a glue job, run it independently, run it from Apache, what you call Airflow. We saw that, right? The Airflow DAGs we wrote. There also we were calling the modules which are nothing but pipe right? So I mean, this is right. So those are as you are becoming Python programmers, right? So Boto 3 is very powerful package to do lot of stuff programmatically. So this was the question based on you were asked to. Did they ask anything else around it? What did they ask? Question.
Yeah, they just asked if have I used Photo 3
Okay. What did you
in
say?
any of my ETL jobs.
What did you say?
I said yes, and I just basically said yes. I've used Photo 3 in my ETL jobs.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So as long as I will say yes, then you can also give examples, right? Hey, I've used it in my Lambda functions. I've used it in my what do you call ETL jobs, right? Blue jobs and PySpark, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I think I told her Lambda. I said I used it in my Lambda function.
Okay, that's the answer you can give. Where have you used it, right? Question: where have you used it? Hey, yeah, we have used it in Lambda function. We have seen that. Not that much in the glue job because it's mostly PySpark, but we have used in other in the what do you call Airflow where it was calling something that also they're also used. Remember we instantiated Redshift and all that from that stuff. Right? Or independent. All right. So anything? Okay. Let me. Okay. All right. Let me ask some other questions from your stuff. Um. So. Okay. Have you guys used? Have you? Who all are good in Hive here in this? You are all okay. You all know the Hive, right? There, Hive, even if it is not, heavily used, but there will be questions around Hive. Okay. Who is good in Hive? Hey, there is some background noise. Somebody is singing song. Could you please. Okay. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Okay. So, Vidit, you are good with Hive?
Uh, like I'm good with it, but like very recently I haven't been in much of touch with Hive.
So, what is Hive again? You can tell what is Hive.
Yeah, it's a massive parallel processing platform that is native to Hadoop ecosystem.
What is massive parallel system? No, it's not massive parallel system, right? It's a data warehouse on Hadoop, right? It's a database in Hadoop. Yes, it is. You can. Your answer is a database. It is the database default. It is the database on Hadoop, right? So you use Hive to create databases in Hadoop. Of course, they are all massively parallel because my Hadoop everything is massive parallel. But it's a database. That's what I'm saying. It's a database on Hadoop, right? Primarily data warehouse. It's actually data warehouse on Hadoop because nobody uses for OLTP anyway. So it's a data warehouse on Hadoop, and questions will be around partitioning and bucketing. We have covered that many times. Partitioning, bucketing questions might come. How, in what form, in what way you have used Hive in your AWS projects? That could come question. Have you used Hive in your anywhere on-prem and all that? Right? Like based on what did you say when they asked Hive?
I'm trying to remember.
Did you just say yes, I know, or did you give example like on
She,
prem?
I think she asked me. She asked me what performance techniques did I use in Hive.
Performance techniques. Did you say anything?
Yeah, I told her I used partitioning and bucketing.
Okay. Is that only thing you said? Or, yeah, I think this they might just want to test you out. So since you put, you are migrating from on-prem Cloudera to big Hadoop, your project, right? So that means you worked on Hive on-prem. You must have worked on Hive, right? And that could be the question anyway. Even on EMR there is Hive, although there is use of Hive is very very minimal, but still it's okay. So performance. So as you said, yes, partition understand partitioning bucketing. We have covered it, but anyway, that's something. What are the other techniques in Hive? Other techniques to do performance tuning.
You can optimize your query.
Okay.
Like probably just don't use select star instead of or
No,
don't use.
no. Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, not the select star. In PySpark, that is different thing, but that's okay. But you don't get to optimize query. And just not just select star. There are many ways you can optimize the query, but you can say that's okay. You can say optimize query, which is okay. Whatever you said, that's fine. But
Can you
so,
can you do broadcast join?
yeah, there is broadcast in there as well. There is there, but what are the main ones? So those are the other thing, right? Broadcast join is there, but what are partitioning bucket? What are the main primary things? Primary what do you call techniques? What's the other one you are missing? What's the major one?
I think I think the input format, like converting the data into say serialized format or columnar format, like Parquet
Columnar
or
file format.
Avro.
Columnar file. You store it in columnar file format. That's one of the major one. Which ones has the huge impact? Talk about that first, right? Partitioning bucketing number one. Columnar file format everybody uses, but still you have to say that we use columnar, right? ORC Parquet. Then you can say optimizing the querying, write better. There is better practice, write better queries. So there are others, right? As I said, broadcast join or map side join and others are there. But if you can talk about at least these three, this will be sufficient. We are not going. Okay. And Hive SQL functions they might ask. SQL functions. Some of the SQL functions. Case statement. A few of the stuff, right? Inner join, outer join, window functions. What is window function, by the way? Who knows window function pretty well? How do I write a window function in Hive or in even any? See, Hive is Sparx SQL, by the way. In Sparx SQL, you are going to write SQL. It's the same SQL here. It follows the ANSI SQL pretty much, right? One SQL in one database, you can use it in anywhere. That's why you need to be very strong in SQL. So, Godson, your BI background, what is function? Can you must have used many window functions. What is the window function? Can you give an example of window functions and how to write it in SQL?
Windows function. For a while, I used anyone. Used it in the last Spark projects. Yeah, I think I use it when I'm doing group over function, group by. Use it to group by.
Group by is a regular summarization aggregate functions, but it's window function, right? Windowing. You create a window in your, window could be window in the time span. Window could be window in something else, right? You are creating window. So window functions you guys don't know. I mean, in analytics, window function is pretty common. Without window function, you probably not write any BI. doing BI, it's a very common thing, right?
I've seen window function in Spark. Is it like anything similar to that? Because recently I
Everything
studied
same.
that. Like
Concept
window.
is same. See, concept is same. It's a different syntax and all that. Concept is same. Okay.
Right.
Which is I told you, right? I want to find out intro into window functions. What is window functions? A window function performs a calculation across a set of table rows that are somehow related to the current row. This is comparable to the type of calculation that can be done with an aggregate function. But unlike regular aggregate function, group by, what you are saying, Godson, that's a regular aggregate function. Use of a window function does not cause rows to become grouped into a single output row. The rows retain their separate identities. Behind the scene, the window function is able to access more than just the current row of the query. So here you see duration second sum this thing over order by time date time as running total. If you want to find a running total, right? You know running total, right? You make a total second.
Yes, running total.
So here is one. It's also one way, right? You can using over order by or you order by the time. Then you are doing sum it, but you are doing running a order total. So the output will come is not a single record. It is just a giving you other running total goes 5, then 5 plus 5, 5 plus 2, 7, second one 7, then 3, third record has 3, so plus 3, 8, right? A 7 plus 3, 10. So it will give you a running total. How do you create that? So there's typically this one of them. Okay. Basic syntax is typically you can say, hey, you can talk about over, partition by, these are very common syntax. Don't use those kind of thing in regular aggregate function, but here you use those. Sum, you know, but you are summing it based on a a running the start time. You are ordering the start time small to order by, right? Sequence, increasing order. Then you are summing it, but by this syntax, making this syntax, writing this way, that will create a running total. But there are other popular ones. I'm going to say, okay, I'll start on that. Okay. Running total, running count, running average. Okay. See, here is creating 3 of them together. That is just one type. There are many others could be done. I'm just trying to see row number. Okay, that's one. That's over. That's over partition over. But there is another one is called row number function. Row number does just what it sounds like. So why don't you guys read through this? Okay, read through the part. So you need to know rank, dense rank functions. These are all the differences. You say what are the different what do you call window functions? These are the ones: running total, rank, dense rank, ranking. You have the some you want to rank it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you do that in standard SQL? You cannot do it, right? But here you will be able to do it. You are
Can
saying,
use dense rank and row number. Either of those would work.
yeah, rank, right? Over partition by this start time, order by start time, you rank it. Dense rank. Dense rank, I think it doesn't. If the value is repeating, you don't repeat it. I think dense rank, standard rank is.
Well, we use ranking during the last assignment, advanced pack, where we have to find the third highest value. So you have to rank and start from the bottom, kind of.
So okay, so why don't you guys? So window functions could be very common. People will ask you. Okay. Anyway, you guys study that window functions. Who want to study? Should be able to answer these questions. Okay. So got some. Why don't you tell me your overview and let's get started very quickly. So got some. Give me your. Tell me what are you doing and give me your what are you doing in the AWS very quickly. And then we'll get to some technical questions which we are not covered yesterday. You're there, Watson? Tell me about yourself and your project. Can you all guys hear me or I can't hear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So good evening, everybody. This is Godson Chikalo, and just want to tell you, thank you for taking time to listen to me in this interview. And I have over 20 plus years in IT. And in the past 5 years, I've worked in big data technology and also AWS cloud. So some of my technology work include working in AWS platform, include working in full automation platform activities like using CFT. I also expert in using PySpark and glue jobs to migrate data. And I have experience of working on both on-prem Hadoop platforms as well as AWS platform on the cloud.
Okay. What's your project? Talk about your project, current project.
I can barely hear what you said.
Can you talk about your current project?
Okay. My current project was working on, over the past 2 years, I've been working on a major digital transformation project for a big data company. And I was part of the engineering team, and my cloud engineering team, and my responsibilities include working as a platform engineer and also working as a big data engineer. So in the project, I was responsible for data pipeline activities using step functions and Spark jobs. I also work in ingesting big data. I also build data ingestion modules using glue jobs. And I work to ingest data from the on-prem site storage to S3, then from S3 to Redshift data warehouse on the cloud.
Okay. How much data are you moving? What are you migrating from on-prem? What kind of platform you have on-prem?
Okay. The initial data we worked on, I know the organization have over 300 terabytes of data, but since I'm working on the
300
first
terabytes.
stage,
300 terabytes where? Where is it? What platform?
on-prem,
On-prem
it's
what?
on-prem, it's on site on their Hadoop
That you have to mention, right?
server.
On-prem means not on a file, right? Not on my Windows machine. Where is it? That you have to mention, right? Migrating from where? Okay.
Yes, so they are migrating from their Hadoop-based data system. So I think Teradata they're using, and we.
No. You don't confuse. Again, you are saying Hadoop, then you Teradata. Which one is it? Or both?
Oh, sorry, Hadoop file system. They study the Hadoop file system clusters. They study the Hadoop clusters.
Mixing of both, right? If you are mixing of both, that's okay. If there are two systems you are migrating or one you are migrating, you need to be very to the point, right? Anyway, so it's a cloud. Is it a Hadoop platform? What kind of Hadoop platform you have in on-premise? Which distribution? What kind of Hadoop platform
I'm
you have
sorry.
on-prem? What kind of Hadoop platform you have?
Oh, I have Hive.
No. What kind of Hadoop platform? There are many types of Hadoop distribution, right? Which one?
Okay, so there's Cloudera, or there's AutoWorks.
What is it?
Okay,
Cloudera
so
or
AutoWorks.
Works. So which one is that? Which
Yeah.
one you had? Okay, anyway, so that when somebody asking what type of platform or Hadoop you have, you say, hey, Cloudera or something.
Okay, so our platform was Adobe AutoWorks.
What?
So we had multiple nodes, over 50 nodes, and they have over 300 terabytes of data. And our first stage of the project was to migrate 20 terabytes of data from the Hadoop clusters to S3 buckets in the cloud, where we'll perform some validation checks, transformations, and validation checks, and then we can now migrate it into the new Redshift data warehouse.
So you see, structure your thoughts properly, right? You are migrating, again, not for just for you, for everybody. I know you are a veteran, but you structure your thoughts. So you're migrating a platform, you are migrating data, you are migrating some business logics, right? Migrating some modules. This is very straightforward. You are migrating 300 terabytes of data, historical data from Cloudera to Hadoop. And as well as I'm creating a data warehouse on Redshift, right? Which probably is moving
Yes.
from Teradata to Redshift, right? If that's the case, so you talk about the source, talk about the target, right? Which that it is very straightforward, right? Then as part of the migration or part of migration, we are building. What are you building in the AWS S3? You said S3. What are you building on S3?
On S3, we're just building the trigger function.
See, that's not you
We
say,
are,
right? You don't. When somebody asks you what are you doing, what are you building on S3, you don't say trigger function.
we're building the folders in S3.
See, we have not got into the folder level yet. Again, it's just everybody. It relates to everybody. See, what are you doing? It's a building folder is not your answer. I'm building my logical data layers, right? S3 is I'm using to build my data layers. You go start from the top, then go down detail. If you start from the bottom, that split function or what you call bucket, right? Or whatever you're doing. Start from, you didn't give the full overview, right? If you're giving a project overview, what things will explain somebody that the project, somebody will understand. Think about it. Your data is coming, you are building some data layers, right? Just like database, these are data layers. So what are the layers? You have the inbound bucket, raw, curated, all that stuff, and that's our data layer. That's a layer. I created diagrams. I send you guys, right? This is the storage. What you call design pattern, right? Storage pattern. I send it. So you need to touch upon that. If you go down details to bucket, who will care about the bucket? You don't know. Nobody even understands the project yet, right? So why do we create bucket? Nobody knows what layer it is. Why will they care about the bucket now? Again, you are becoming very transactional. Which bucket? Then question. It's easy as it is just one bucket creates the project. No, right? So give the overview of the project. So now that's the question now. Okay, tell me, can you explain the process flow or the data flow pattern of the project? What are the, go ahead and talk about the data flow pattern.
So the data flow is, we have our data in 3 layers. We have our staging area, our raw data area, where we collect the data from the source, or since we're doing ingestion, so we ingest it from the source in this case, which is the on-prem data. So once the ingestion is done, it comes to the our raw bucket in S3, and at the raw bucket, that's our first stage. Then we have a second stage, which we perform some validation on the raw bucket data and check for things like missing columns or 0 byte files. Once that is properly validated, is pushed into our curated bucket, which is our second stage. Then our final stage is when we now move everything to our Redshift staging table. So from Redshift to the data mart, our Redshift data mart or data warehouse, where it can be used as for reporting if by our applications like Tableau or QuickSight, and this is our final layer.
What is the file format in these layers? Do you store history all the layers, or what is it? What kind of file history data are you storing? How much history are you storing in your data lake, or in your data lake is, what is data lake, right? If they ask your data lake is your S3 layer. Those are on data lake. How much of history you are storing in Redshift? Let me ask you, how much history you are storing in Redshift?
Right, we started with, because of the domain of this business, they storing the first 10 years of data.
First or last? Okay,
Huh?
whatever.
The last 10 years of data, sorry.
Okay.
The last 10 years of data.
How much? So which is equivalent to what? 300 terabytes?
No, which is equivalent to 50 terabytes.
Okay. So how many fact and dimension tables you have in your Redshift?
In the initial analysis,
Let me ask you, what kind of data model you have on the Redshift? Is it typical fact dimension or something else?
we have a typical fact dimension model in our Redshift data mart. Yes.
Okay. How many facts you have there, or how many module facts you have? I mean, what is the facts, number of facts? How many facts you have? I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, right? You can tell how many are there.
This is a financial domain, so we have two facts table, and we have over 8 dimension tables, or about 8 dimension tables.
Okay. How much data you have in the fact table? How many records? Just to have an idea, what is the largest table you have?
The transaction, we have the transaction fact table that has the most number of records. That's over 35 billion rows of data.
Million or billion? What are you saying?
35 million.
35 million is not a large size for Hadoop or any platform. It's like a peanuts for your Hadoop platform or in Redshift. It's like peanut. It's like a dimension table.
Okay, so
35 is nothing.
So
it's
5
not
billion. Then.
Well, 35 billion will be too high, but maybe a couple of billions you can say. Or at least half a billion or 1 billion, not 35 million. That's typically very sad. And you are saying 10 years of history. 10 years is just 35
okay. Would 300 billion be?
So, what is star schema?
Oh, star schema is where you have your fact table in the middle and you have your dimensional tables connected to them through the logic
Which
of
one is the middle? Which one is in the middle?
the fact table.
Okay. And the dimensions are?
And then you have the dimensional table spread out connected to it through their a primary key and a foreign key concept.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any summary tables built, or it's just the fact dimension?
Oh, definitely. We have summary table field build because we have to build for summary total sales information based on dates. So we have to, based on years. So we have to build a summary table for each year.
Okay. On the Redshift, you said there are 2 layers. What are those layers? Staging and? Staging
We have
and
the staging and the semantic layer.
What's the role of staging here?
The stage is where we get all our 1 billion rows of data is the detail files. Then the semantic is where we have our summary data stored.
Okay. You are maintaining you are saying staging is detail level data and the semantic is okay. Are you copying where are you copying from? So are you saying you are copying the curated and storing it in staging tables? It's the same copy every day?
No, we're actually doing what we call incremental updates. So we only added new data that does not exist.
Okay, so
in case we get our new sets of data from the main source system now that
how much
once we go live.
Okay, so you guys can mention that curated, your raw is full history, your curated will be full history pretty much, because those are 2 different type of file format on that. Now staging, typically, I don't know whether you want to make it full history, that typically you can go for trunket load, but as you said, if you want to keep the detailed data there, 1 copy, maybe you want to have one other copy of curated, keep it there maybe because it's a database, then build your data warehouse layer or semantic layer on the other layer, right? So how much so that's something you can follow. So you have raw, your inbound is trunket load, your raw is full history, your curated is full history, your staging you can go with either trunket load, or there could be, again, there is nothing fixed here, right? Depending on your project. Maybe staging, you instead of staging, you can call it, you can have it history, detail history, and then your semantic, which is your fact dimension and fact table and summary tables. So how do you copy the data from curated to staging? How do you copy it?
I have a glue job running. I have a glue job, a glue job that runs. It's a scheduled glue job that runs weekly.
No, does what? How do you copy it? Using what?
It runs and it takes the data from the curated buckets and copy it over to append to any appends. It kind of more like appends to
Okay.
the
Go,
staging table.
yeah. Go to the point. To the point answers. You need to develop that thing. You guys know all need to be to the point. Don't have to. Again, I said round, right? You have to the point, right? The glue job which copies the file, which copies the file, the data file every day, right? From S3 to Redshift, straightforward, right? So straight, you just one line statement. You are taking 2 minutes. There is no just straight to the point, right? Done. So if my S3 copy is not working, I build it, it's not working, it's giving me error. What could be the problem? My S3 copy is failing. What could be the problem? S3 to Redshift.
If it's failing, then the map could be something that I can check to see what the problem is by looking at the log files.
Which
Then
log?
I can troubleshoot from there.
Which log? Which log file you will see? Where do you go and see the logs? Whose job is failing? My S3, job is failing. Copy is failing. Where do I go? How do I debug it?
I'll look at the glue job log file in the cloud formation.
Cloud formation, you will say the interviewer will say, okay, bye bye.
It's not cloud formation. I know it's not cloud formation.
Cloud formation is completely different thing, right? You are not cloud was. You don't mistake with
It's
cloud formation. Cloud trail you can mistake, but not cloud formation. That's a completely different thing. Okay. So okay, if it's failing, so then what are the possible problems you could have? What are the possible errors you could get? Or first time you are building a S3 copy job, what are the possible errors? What are the errors you have faced?
Well, the first time I had an error was I didn't have my VPC subnet, well, the inbound connection built in for Redshift to accept connection from S3 to Redshift, so that I was able to troubleshoot, created it, and that worked. So that was a connection
Your VPC
problem on its own.
So your VPC is different, you are saying? Redshift and your S3. Well, S3, I don't think there is a VPC for S3 bucket anyway, right? I don't think you can. It is not bound by VPC, right? S3 buckets, right? And you don't control S3 access by VPC. I don't think so, right?
No, for you to use a glue job to connect S3 to
what do I need to do for my glue job to have access to the S3 and to have access to the Redshift? What do I need to do?
So I have to add the security, the rows to both of them.
The point, right? Simple questions. I need some service needs access to something. What do you create? You create IAM role. Why don't you get to the straight point? I need IAM role, which is S3. If it's S3, I need full access to the S3, full read access. I need a write access to Redshift. The 2 lines of answer. That's all.
Okay, got it.
It's straightforward, right? Why you going here, there, this, that, or straightforward, right? I say, hey, how do I access my data? I have running a glue job. I need to access the S3 to read it, and I want to write it to Redshift. So I need full read access on the S3. I need write access on Redshift, right? It's simple as that. If it doesn't have the access, of course, that's one of the issue could be it will get error, right? That's one of them. Maybe there are other ones, but this is something, right? That could be. So, I mean, answer your question to the point. Don't confuse the interviewer. And you get confused, you confuse the answers are straightforward. Just give it on straight answer. If you are not clear, that's different thing. But different services access different service through IAM role. That's how it works. Any service access, whether it's Lambda function, whether glue job, EMR, or the way AWS works is through IAM roles. If you don't have the certain IAM roles, it will not be able to work. So okay. Where have you used Lambda function in your project? You said you have used Lambda function. Where did you use it?
I've created Lambda functions with my S3 jobs. So
There is no S3 job, right? But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
with my glue jobs.
Okay.
So it triggers my glue job when an update is made to an S3 bucket.
Okay. You see, you are building a project, right? So building a project. It's projects when you talking about the big project, your answer should be project wise, right? It's not just one. Something as I said yesterday, right? Your answers should not be transactional. It should represent a project design. You're designing, right? That should come up somehow. But anyway, you are saying, hey, the Lambda functions are used as a, you have written the Lambda functions, so which is as a trigger function for a S3 file upload, right? Whenever file gets uploaded to the inbound bucket, it triggers either the glue job, or in our case, we talked about it starts the step function, right? So then say step function is what we use for our orchestration. So as soon as the data comes into inbound data bucket, it triggers the first task of the trigger step function, and from that point on, the rest of the modules are modules are executed, or you can say, right, modules are run, right? So once the step function gets triggered, that will create the data curation, call the curation job. Second, you will call the maybe glue job, which copies the file, right? So
yes,
that dependency is managed in the step function. Do you know what is DynamoDB?
No, I haven't used. I didn't use it in my project.
Do you know what it is?
RDD?
No, DynamoDB.
No.
You need to know that. You can't say just no. If you worked in my AWS for 2-3 years, at least you should know what it is. What is it based on? What is DynamoDB?
Okay. DynamoDB is a database, also a database. Sorry, a service inside of AWS that can be used to store data more in columnar form, more like forget the word.
Okay, let me ask based on based on what is in DynamoDB? What is the use of it?
It's used to store data. It's used as a database or a storage.
Okay, based on having there.
It's a storage. Yeah.
Based on having there.
Yes, I'm here.
What is the DynamoDB? Why do you have you used it, or just if you have some? What is DynamoDB? Do you know?
So I have played with it. I haven't used it in my most recent project, but I can pick it up pretty quickly. I got played with it. It's a database in AWS, and it's used to handle streaming data.
What is that? It is used to do what?
Handle streaming data.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. So it's a NoSQL database, right? It's a NoSQL. It's a NoSQL database, right? So you have the relational database, you have the RDS, you have NoSQL database, that's your DynamoDB. You have Hive, which is the Hadoop-based database. All these three types you should need to know, right? At least you have understanding of what it is. You may not have used it, but you can't say, I don't know what it is. You'll be surprised you have worked on AWS 2-3 years, you don't know what is DynamoDB. That can't happen, right? See that every day. So DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. Again, as you said, yes, it can be used to store streaming data, metadata, all that stuff, right? We don't have a use case to show that here, at least in the project here. But you can say I've never used it in our project, but I know it can be used for storing streaming data or any the typical use cases where you want to pull the data quick, store and read and write wherever you need very fast. Okay, so the read and write is extremely fast, so that means it is good for streaming. Or you are reading data, maybe you have your configuration data, config data in DynamoDB, and you are using that data. We have not done those kind of stuff, but I will try to. So for example, you want to, I don't know, you guys, I don't know whether you guys will get confused. So, but anyway, so let's example, right? You are building your data curation between raw and curated layer, right? You are doing data validation. You can make it data driven. That means you can pull the logics, pull the rules from a DynamoDB table, use that rules to build your curation, do your curation. That means it is data driven. Instead of fixed rules, the rules can be written in and stored in the DynamoDB. And since DynamoDB is very fast access, right, your process will not slow down. So that's one way. Okay? It can be used for data driven or metadata driven framework or metadata driven data curation, data, right? Data. That's one of the use you can say. Second one, as you said, is used to store streaming data. You can, because it's a fast write. But it's a NoSQL database. Did I talk about NoSQL? You guys know what? Okay, you don't need to know very much. But Base is a NoSQL database. MongoDB is a NoSQL database. DynamoDB is proprietary AWS NoSQL database. Okay. How do I make connection to the, if I'm writing a Boto3 script, how do I connect to Redshift? I want to copy, in the Boto3 script, I want to create a S3. I have the S3, I want to access the S3 bucket and copy the data to Redshift. How do I do that in the Boto3? Can somebody talk about the steps? The logical steps.
Use the copy command. Yeah. So if you are using if you are like the way I've done it, I was inside of the Redshift editor.
I'm not. It's not Redshift. Inside Redshift, I'm writing a Boto3 script. It's a standalone application. I'm not inside.
Oh, you said Boto. I thought you said copy script.
It's a standalone application. So how do you do that?
Use Lambda function.
Where is the Lambda function coming in here? I just want to write a script, Python script. Who can tell? I want to write a Python Boto3 script which will access my S3 bucket, pick up the file, copy to Redshift. What are the steps? How do I write a Python program? You all have written Python programs, right?
Yes.
Didn't we? I showed you one of the Apache Airflow. I showed you. Of course, it was not working, but I think you guys did it, right? You wrote didn't we, Besang? You wrote that thing and you executed from Apache Airflow.
Yes, I did it on Airflow in the project, but I haven't been saying.
What are the steps you did in that Python program? Do you remember?
Yes. Well, I didn't do it. Like, you mean to copy from the files from our curated to S3? I didn't use the Python script that you provided.
Oh, you did not use or used?
I did it. I used Glue Studio to copy.
Glue Studio. Okay. Glue Studio to copy. Yeah. But anyway, since you guys should know Boto3, I was just checking how with it. Do you know how to create a Boto3 script, Python script, and copy it?
I actually use the same method as Bisong. I used glue catalog to get the get the metadata, like the structure of the table, and after that I
Tell me, if
used
you have to
Redshift.
do it, how do I do it? If you have to write it, Boto 3, how do you do it? Any Python, create a Python application.
I think Psycop G2 needs to be used, and you have to use Boto 3 client to connect it to the Redshift. I think yeah.
Yeah. So again, you don't have to remember all the libraries, but at least you can talk to the steps, right? Of course, you want to import all the related Boto 3 format libraries, right? Import Boto 3 library, right? Boto 3 libraries. Then you instantiate, or you can set your S3 object, right? That this is the S3 bucket I'm reading. It is Boto 3 dot I forgot the command, but Boto 3 dot is it called? But anyway, that's, you can go ahead and check the thing. But you instance the S3 object, whatever you are going to write, whatever going to read, then instantiate the Redshift object, right? Redshift database. How do you do that? This is where you want to use the connection parameter and all that stuff. That's where you have to import that library. Is one of those. What is it called? Psycho. What is the library?
PSYCOPG2.
Okay, this is one of the library which has all the what you call JDBC libraries. Okay, JDBC connections. So instance Redshift database, you have to provide the URL of the database wherever it is. You provide the ID, user ID, password, the right, so that it needs those what you call credentials and the database, probably database name. So it takes a parameter, 3-4 parameters that it creates an instantiate the Redshift of your database, right? Then fourth is go ahead and copy it. Copy the S3 object over, then using S3 copy, whatever command is, right? S3 copy. I think there is a very readily available S3. Okay, I think you can do execute the SQL, I believe. Yeah, so you can execute the SQL. You build the SQL. Okay, build the copy command, copy SQL, which is like copy. What are the command is, right? Again, I don't remember the your S3 command, whatever you copy command you use, right? Using the role, this, that, right? Then you build the SQL, and then you execute. I think there's a command called execute or something. But anyway, basically you execute the SQL. This is one of those, but there are many. So you have to. This is very standard. Again, you want to write a Bottom script. First, you have to import the libraries. If it deals with any connections to database, you have to. So this library typically carries all the JDBC libraries to connect to different databases. Here our database is Redshift. So then you have your what you call what's the command, right? So it's a pretty straightforward when you create any S3 thing, right? Okay, my session current name, bucket name is this. So there are many ways you can do, right? Here connection, create bucket. So these are all Boto 3 functions, right? You can use resource, you can use client, all these names are the S3s, right? There are many. So what they are trying to, if there could be some jobs where they need you to be programmatically do a lot of things. You need to be very good Python programmer to do that. And this is what data engineer do, right? You need to be very good at building those things. And you need to be very comfortable doing it, right? So that's the kind of goal. So if you are, anyway, so hopefully you guys do that. Understand it. I don't know if you are. Okay, anyway, so you can it's all coming. There is no anyway. Okay, so that's fine. So those are the things you guys need to learn. Okay. Here, upload the file. First, what do? Create the instantiate the bucket or S3. Sorry, not the instantiate the S3 service. Right. This is what doing. Right. Go to 3.client. Then you're calling the upload file function. S3 client is from this object dot upload from this file from this bucket or whatever. Right. Upload this file name from this bucket, and this is object name. That's the target object. Within try catch if is all right. So these are some of the concepts you need to be very, very right. So you need to know that anyway. So they may ask you. It's not something they may ask you. Okay, give me example of auto 3. Do something right. How do you write it? You need to know some basic steps at least. You know. You may not know the every detail, but if you don't know the basic logic of it, then they'll say, okay, you have not done any work. See, auto 3 is a integrated component of data engineer. You see how powerful is auto 3, right? Whether you are writing a Lambda function, whether writing a standalone function, any writing, all these things, it's so powerful, right? You can pretty much outside console, you can do everything here. You don't need to even go to there. You can write your application on a EC2 instance and run everything. And that's very powerful. Okay. So you don't know. So there will be some import statements. If there's database, of course, you know to import all these libraries which has all the connection parameter. First thing you do always the instantiate the S3 service or whatever you call it, right? It's, right in S3 object, right? If you have to connect to the instance Redshift database, that you have to get the URL. You need to have ID password, how to connect database. That once you pass that connection parameter, it will connect and create a connection object. It create a connection. It basically creates a connection object. Using that connection object, you can build a SQL, then execute. Then the SQL gets executed, it will copy the file from here to here. So those are some logical steps you need to know. You don't need to explain the program, but at least you need to know. Anyway, how do you do auto scaling in EMR? Have you done its auto scaling in EMR? Vesham, how do you do auto scaling in EMR?
When you're configuring your cluster, you can set your auto scaling rules. So you can set it to scale up or scale down based on if a job runs if a job exceeds the amount of time running.
No, can't hear you properly. Can you repeat that again?
So when you're configuring your cluster, you can set your auto scale. You can set auto scale rules to scale up or down. If a job if a specific job goes over a limit of time.
Limit of what? Limit of what?
Limit of time running. So if a job takes too much time running, the cluster can scale up or down.
Okay. So basically, you will add more nodes, right? More task nodes or right? That's what, right? So if you have minimum, so you have total nodes allocated is 7 or 10. Okay, is there a min max? I don't remember, but I don't know whether the min max. But you can probably start with some number based on. So go and look at those things. I don't remember the parameter, but that's you are right. But look at some of the parameters. What you said, rules are based on what? Maybe some of the things you need to know. Okay. Go and look at what are the logic, what are the rules based on what? Is it time as you said or CPU and all that? I don't remember. You probably go and check on go to that console or check it on Google. What is a task node? What is a core? There is a core task and what's the other one? Core, right? Right. What is the difference between these two types of nodes you use in AMR? So there is a master node, core node, and task node. What are the differences between these three types? Vidit, what are the three types of nodes?
It's master node, core node, and task node. So master node or normally acts as the master of your cluster, and there is only like one master node. For core nodes, here you basically store here you have your execution cores, and basically data storage and execution is done in this part. Whereas in task node, that is dedicatedly for computation and processing. So this is the basic difference.
I think maybe again, I'm not expert on that, so that's what it is. But I believe core nodes are used for more Spark-based processing. I believe. Go and check that.
Yeah. These
Yeah,
are the
right.
worker nodes that you normally have in the Spark cluster. So you have your execution cores in here. But task node is exclusively for processing.
Oh, task nodes. Okay, yeah, sorry, task nodes. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The task node is exclusive for process. Okay. So master is your, you don't store data in the master node. You can Hdfs files and all that you are creating. Basically, those core nodes are used for data store, Hdfs and all that, unless you are using S3, which is outside. So what's the, if you have the option of using Hdfs and S3, which one should I use and why should I use?
We should use HDFS if we need to if you're processing some data, then we should store it in HDFS and do that, because processing will be a lot faster, whereas S3 is much slower, so it's not good if you're processing the data on the go. But if you want to finally like store the data where retrieval time of retrieval of that data doesn't matter much, it can be stored in S3.
Yeah. So we probably talked about that ephemeral EMR cluster. So you see, if you want to store the data in EMR, you have to keep it running, because by the time there is no shutdown of EMR, you have to terminate it, right? There is no shutdown. So there is you have to terminate. If you terminate, your data is gone, right? So and if I don't terminate, I'm paying for it. Suppose my process runs once in a day, batch runs 6 o'clock in the morning. How do I plan it? How do I do it? Tell me. My batch runs, I have to process this data, which is on the S3, and process it and send it back to copy it to the Redshift, or do some processing, create some summary tables based on this S3 data. How would I use it? My batch runs once in morning 5 to 6. How would you design it? What is the approach?
You can write a CFT script that will instantiate your EMR at morning, suppose 8 a.m. and will automatically terminate it at evening 5 p.m. And when your EMR starts, when the CFT starts your EMR, data can be copied copied from S3 to your SDFS and EMR, and you can carry out all your processing until it's terminated by CFT.
Okay, so those are ephemeral clusters, right? So ephemeral clusters, you don't want to store much. Don't want to persist the data in EMR. Yes, temporarily you may want to copy it to make the processing faster, but at the end you want to copy it back to your wherever S3, because S3 is a permanent storage. Because once you terminate it, your data is gone. Right? So all you are using it is only for processing. You are using the EMR only. It's PySpark engine. That's all you are leveraging. That's all. You don't want to store anything permanent there, because you lose it once it's terminated. But yes, you run it for the couple of hours in the morning. CFT, you can then shut it down once the job is done. You can pretty much write a step function, or you are you can orchestrate it, right? Once job is done, finished, it shuts down or it terminates the cluster. The first one, it starts the cluster, runs the job, second task is runs the job, or copies the job, third one is run the job, fourth one is copies back to the S3, fifth one it terminates the cluster. So everything gets done in 2 hours. Second in the morning, same thing it does again, right? So you're not paying for it for for whole day. You just use it for 2 hours. It's done. You just use the you just use the Spark cluster. That's all. Situational question. People ask this question, so you need to know what's the solution. How would you do it? What is the maximum run time of a Lambda job? Vishal? How much time it can run max?
The maximum time is 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That means if any job runs more than 15 minutes, you should not, Lambda jobs can sometimes be used for doing smaller transformation or task as well. But if it should be discouraged to create, what you call run complex jobs in Lambda because there is a time limit and all that, right? In those cases, you may want to choose CMR or glue jobs. Okay, so all right, so hope you guys learned a little bit new. Okay, all right.
You didn't ask me any Spark question.
What is it?
I said you did not ask me any
Yeah,
Spark.
tell me what are the ways we can improve the performance of a PySpark job. My job is running slow, and my job is running out of memory. Tell me what are the things I could do to speed it up.
Well, to start with, one could be memory issues. So you could find a way to increase your memory. And another one, you can check your code and make sure your code,
How
you
do I
can
change that?
optimize your code.
How do I improve the memory?
Allocate more memory to the job.
How do I do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How do I do that? How do I allocate more memory?
All right, we can set it in when you are defining the session, you can set how much memory you want to use for that job or for that application.
Is there any other way I can set?
As part of the parameters for setting up setting up the session.
Is there any other way I can set it up? Can I override it? Maybe. Vidit, how can I set it up?
You can set it while writing your PySpark script. While writing your script, you can set it up, or else otherwise, while submitting your PySpark job, you can set like number of executor cores, executor memory, driver code, driver memory. So you can do all this while setting up, while submitting your Spark script.
How do you
And normally,
how do you submit your Spark job, Godson?
My Spark job, the reason why Spark job, you can submit it from command line by using Spark -submit, then the Spark file name, then the parameters that you need. The Spark file,
File
the
name
Python file.
File name comes at the end. Probably I don't think it matters. Yeah, it does matter. So file name comes at the end.
Okay.
Between what you have the different parameters you're checking, right? Can't we say
Yes.
can't I set executor memory here?
Yes, executor memory, yeah.
Why are you saying only in the session? You can do it here as well, right? This is one. You have hundreds of parameters you can set here. These are all runtime parameters. What is driver? What is the difference between what is driver memory? What is executor memory?
Driver memory and what memory?
Executor memory.
Just execution memory is where the actual crunching, the manipulations is done to the data.
Just say executor memory is the memory allocated to every executor. That's as simple as that, which is the main processing engine. And the driver memory is the memory allocated to the driver. Typically, we have one driver where the program is running. But executors, we will have many executors. That's a calculation I showed you other day, right? What are the different calculations, how many cores and all. Okay, this is one. What else? What else you want to do? This will take care of memory. What else you can want to do to speed up the query or speed up your Spark?
Code optimization, making sure stuff
Alright.
like
What are the things you do?
select star.
Select star and what else?
Code select star is not used in the code, and try to see if you can apply partitions where necessary.
Partitions. Apply partitions
data.
means what does it mean? What is the apply partition?
Partition?
No. What is apply partition? There is no such thing called apply partition in the code, right? What is it exactly?
No, you can create partitions. Sorry, create partitions for your
command?
Data.
Which command? Which API you are talking about? Create partitions.
You can use the data frame dot partition them by.
No. You haven't studied my document, whatever I sent, right? There are 55 around questions. These are all described pretty well, right? This is called repartitioning, right? You repartition the data frame to avoid the data skewing, and you can apply the column name how many partitions you want. So if your data is getting skewed, you can custom partition it using this repartition, data frame dot repartition. You can provide which column you want to partition on. You can provide how many partitions you want. So you have full control on it. What is the difference between repartition and coalesce?
Repartition, you can go up and down the number of partition, but coalesce, you're going down mostly, so you can coalesce to one or two in the for your data, but repartition, you can either go up, increase number of partition, or reduce number of partitions.
Okay, what are the most shuffling up operations in Spark or Spark? Shuffling operations, where the data shuffling happens.
Yeah. When you partition, there's shuffling. When you coalesce, there's shuffling done on the data.
Any other?
There's shuffling when you group by, or is it when you perform Windows operations?
So group by, reduce by key, reduce by those kind of operations, right? Wherever your data is coming, summarizes and all those stuff are happening, right? That's where data is moving around. What is shuffling? You understand, right? Coupling is moving. You are moving around the data across the network. This typically happens when you are aggregating. Data has to come to one place to aggregate it. That's how it works. Unless you bring it together, how will you aggregate it? So what are the aggregate operations? That means group by. For any aggregate operation, you need to use group by, reduce by key, reduce by. Shuffling, again, partitioning, repartitioning, and coalesce. They have to bring it again. You are repartitioning. That means data has to be moved around again. If you logically understand what it is, you will be able to answer. Okay. All right. What else you want to do to speed up the query? So you talked about the memory. You talked about the fact. What is the broadcast? Broadcast variable in Spark. Have you used it?
Broadcast.
What is broadcast, Vidit?
And broadcasting, basically, if there is certain snippet of data that you're using consistently, instead of like sending it to each of the core, you can store it in a cache which is easily accessible by all the cores. So this is basically called broadcasting.
Is there any limitation?
If the data that you want to broadcast is too big, then that can also cause kind of memory overhead. So you cannot like broadcast to huge amount of data also.
So broadcast is similar to caching.
Yeah, it's kind of like caching the data that is being too frequently being accessed.
They have provided all these links for you guys to link in the document I provided. Spark related questions. Okay, you guys have not studying.
I must have missed that post or the email. I probably didn't say it. Definitely, I would have studied it before now. But I tried doing some caching myself some time ago, and I keep running into memory issue, especially when I'm trying to do a join. So that was a problem I keep getting.
Okay.
So I had to remove.
Somebody asked this question in the interview. What will you do? How would you solve this problem? I'm joining two data frames and I'm running out of memory. What do I do?
I increased my memory allocation.
That's the easy one. Anybody will say increase it, but you don't have infinite memory anyway, right? You have a limited memory for your project or anything. You can't just keep on increasing. How far you can increase? That's the easiest solution. Or the most cheapest solution, I would say. I mean, sorry, most expensive solution, but easy solution. But I'm looking at some more creative solution.
Well, I'll just take away the caching at that point.
Taking what?
And join the data. It's going to be slow, but it's still going to join without running out of causing memory issues, which was what I did to resolve my problem.
What did
I
you
took
do?
out the caching.
I
took out the caching. I did the join. It took a lot of time, but it completed.
How did you take out the caching? That's what I'm asking.
I did there's a command called on pair. Is it on pairing or something? On pair or on publish. I've forgotten the command I use, but there's a command to cache data. If you do data frame dot cache, there's a command data frame dot on that
Persist?
I use.
Is it persist?
Oh, persist, yeah, on persist. On persist, yeah, that's what I use.
What is the difference between persist and caching in RDD? Do you know persist and cache? Have you guys studied it? Any of you?
Mm.
There are two ways to persist to cache it. One is persist command. There is a cache command, right? What is the difference between those two?
I think I read this one in the document, though I do not remember it very clearly. But as far as I remember, caching means you are basically forcing all the data you are basically forcing all the data into the cache memory. Whereas in persist, it can be on your normal memory or can be in the cache memory.
No, there is no normal memory, cache memory. In persist, you can have option to store it in the memory or on the disk.
Right. Yeah.
There is no cache memory and memory is there, but that's not the cache is always memory. But persist, you have option to memory only, disk only, memory and disk only. So there are many options available. So maybe Godson, you would say persist it on disk only, so that it is on the disk, not in the memory. Maybe that's what you have done, but I'm not just saying. Okay. The options are available in persist. Okay. Look through those two things. persist and cache. Both are for pushing to the memory, but cache is only can push to memory. Maybe there is a way to uncache it, but persist is where you can put it in the memory. There are many options available with persist, which is not available in cache. There are different options. You can say pass the dot persist. You can pass the variable called inside the bracket. You can say memory only. There's a right. So, I don't know. You guys have this. You guys need to study. You guys are not reading. That's the problem. The memory only persist. So we can make persisted RDD through cache and persist methods. But when we use the cache method, we can store all the RDD in the memory. We don't have a way to store half here. No. We can persist the RDD in memory and use it efficiently, of course, right? But difference between cache and persist is that cache, the default storage level is always memory. While using persist, we have option. We can do various storage levels. The storage levels are like what? The different type of storage level, memory only, as you see here, memory and disk, memory only serialized, memory and disk serialized, disk only. There are so many options. Okay. These are all Spark questions. You'll be asked this question. Okay. Okay. Well, so Seema, are you ready? Getting ready? What's your status? How far you have gone?
I'm in the middle. But if you want, I can give a demo and you can check me at what level I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, the initial little trouble, but maybe it's better now. Yeah, it's better now.
I know pretty things, but still, I don't know how well I am in. No, when I'm talking, I don't know how well I'm in giving the presentation rather than reading it. So that's the only way. If I give you presentation, then I'll know much more how much I know it and how much you can know it, how much I know, and how much I more need to practice.
Yeah, maybe let's do that sometimes. Maybe tomorrow we can do that for you. Is it okay? Or are you ready tomorrow?
Or maybe next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, any day.
Okay, that's fine. So whenever you are ready, that's fine. So yeah, that's one checking when you are ready. All right, we'll do with Juliet. She's hopefully once she's back. Juliet. Okay, other questions we can ask. Okay, Besang also we can do with Besang again. Technical questions we can ask Besang. Okay, or I'll just ask general technical questions to everybody. Okay. Are you guys are writing it down, everything you are taking notes, then going back and studying it, or just leaving it here?
Oh, well, like studying it as much as possible, like
Or
trying to
maybe
find
doing
the
what about the
answer.
rest of the folks? It's not, I did finish, my job is done. No. You guys are still new and you have, very maybe 5%. Then keep on keep on reading, keep on studying, keep on expanding. Right? There is no, you can't predict what the interviewer would ask. So more you know, you are better off. Can't make you 100% ready. It's, yes, but you can be as much as you are ready. Right? You can be, try to be ready as much as you can. There is no stopping here. And if you are not progressing every day and all that with my interview process, I'm not going to continue this for a long time. I need to see the progress. If you are not answering today, tomorrow you are answering. Yes, I know you are progressing.
So can I take a shot again next week?
Okay. So Besang will do all anyway, everybody, but Besang, you will be the main guy to do technical and questions tomorrow, okay? Or others will be there, anybody will. Okay. Spark, AWS, this, that, all that, all the technical questions. Okay, situational, technical, Boto 3, everything. Now it's everything is fair. Everything is fair in interview and whatever, right? Now everything is fair now. I can ask any questions. Okay, so you have to just cover everything. You will not just this or that.
Okay.
Okay, so be prepared for anything, any type of question. AWS, big data, Hive, Spark, whatever. About Spark, Hive very minimal, but the services, other services, performance issues questions, situational questions, okay, project questions, everything. So just be prepared from every angle. But the areas where you are weak, whether the data warehouse, HCD, performance tuning, focus that again and again. Just go and look at those things. Spark questions, specific something you didn't touch upon that, you want to go back and check. Go and do that. Okay. All right.